MIT have designed tiny batteries for powering cell-sized robots.
G1 humanoid robot for mass production, showing improved agility such as leaping and climbing stairs.
It's a sympathetic chatbot. Like, why? What happened? Right? And it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Let's have a conversation about that. What were some alternatives? I mean, I think this is a pilot study.
In Wyoming, there is a person running for mayor who promised to let AI run the government.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Wednesday, August 21st, 2024, and you are watching and listening to the Daily AI Show live. Today is our weekly news roundup where we dive into the biggest AI stories of the week. With me today, I have Andy, Jyunmi, Karl, and I'm Beth. And here's the thing that's part of our news roundup. We don't share notes beforehand, so we're all coming in fresh, ready to discover and discuss the latest AI developments together. And generally, we try to find something that's going to make the other co-hosts raise their eyebrows a little bit. We'd love for you, our audience, to be a part of this conversation. So if you're watching live, feel free to drop in your AI news tidbits in the comments. We might just bring them into the discussion. And if you're not watching live, but you could be, let this be your sign and an invitation. Come join our live morning crew one of these days. We'd love to have you join us. Jyunmi, why don't you start us off? What's your biggest AI story?
Well, I've got a couple from Nvidia. They're the biggest chip manufacturer for the AI space, but they came out with a couple of really big pieces of news. Number one, they created an AI model called Stormcast, and that enables thunderstorm forecasts on a scale of a few kilometers. So right now, NOAA uses something called high-resolution rapid refresh as their model to identify various state variables and things like that in a scale of about 3 kilometers. Now, AI models have a difficult time with weather because of those variables and things like that, but NVIDIA's Stormcast is able to do a high degree of accuracy and is able to nearly equal what this current HRRR system does. So what we're hoping here is with the progression of the AI models and how accurate they are, we'll see further improvement, and we may have a new way of predicting thunderstorms. So I thought that was helpful and in the realm of the AI for good space. The other one is, while they released a new model that had 2 key features. It's on device, and it was designed for improving conversation, particularly for game characters, right? They call it their first digital human tech model. And they're releasing, because NVIDIA has always been in the game market and things like that. They make all the, their chips are all for high-end PC gaming and things like that. But this new Nemotron 4B Instruct, as they're calling it, improves conversational abilities of game characters, and it has access to RAG and improve roleplay and function calling capabilities and things like that. So this allows the characters to more intuitively interpret PC game actions and things like that. Now, while this is just in the gaming, or this was designed for the gaming space, it can have potential applications outside of the gaming space, right? Because the key takeaways here is it's an on-device model, right? So we could start seeing this in mobile apps, or, like single board systems, things like that, or on your local desktop. And it's a game character, it's an NPC, so it's really good at interaction. So this could be the underlying model for having that avatar or having that human interaction layer AI, right? So I think this is their line of development, and gaming's fantastic for this because that's what gamers are doing in their games. They're just role-playing, the whole time, and having AI that can adapt and change based on the behavior of the player will lead to a much better human interaction layer type of AI. So those are the first two big ones out of NVIDIA. There are, of course, many, many stories, but I'd like to hear from everybody else.
I want to follow on an NVIDIA comment. NVIDIA has rocketed up in its value because it's developing and delivering advanced graphics processing units, which originally addressed the game market, as you say, but is now the choice for transformer-based inference in data centers that are delivering intelligence that we understand as things like ChatGPT or Gemini, etc. So there's all this demand, and we've spoken on the show about the power requirements of that demand as we build new data centers to support all that inference. Well, in America, North America particularly, so this probably includes Canada as well, data center power has added 515 megawatts of supply in the first half of this year. Silicon Valley data centers existing, was 460 megawatts. So as much as Silicon Valley uses, all the major players, and I think they're lumping into Silicon Valley all the players like Google, etc. So there's this enormous push to build data centers to supply AI inference. And a data center space already under construction is currently at a record high. And this insane amount of data center capacity still is not enough to meet the growing demand for cloud computing and AI. So while there have been lots of people talking about NVIDIA stalling because AI is really not that big a thing, this data just out about the megawatt capacity increases that we're seeing, it defies that.
So I have two things. One comment on that. One of the observations that I hadn't really clocked until I read it is that even though data centers are like these huge things that are being constructed, the amount of time that it takes to run the inference, and the speed at which new chips and new innovations are being developed, they're potentially like one-time use things, right? By the time you're done doing the inference on the model that you've trained, doing the training on the model that you're training, the systems that you're training on may very well be out of date. So as we talk about these huge investments that these companies are making, it isn't like that's then rolled in and can be used. At least right now, it seems like people are training on the next level of something. And the second thing is we've referenced some of these biocomputers, the organoids, the sections of human brain cells. Swiss startup Final Spark has just launched a service allowing scientists to rent cloud access for $500 a month. And the reason that there are a ton of reasons why this can be talked about by many, many people, but one of the reasons that this is so interesting for people is because the human brain cell is incredibly energy efficient, right? Like incredibly energy efficient. And they're trained using dopamine for positive reinforcement and electrical signals for negative reinforcement, which is very much what our own brains do in our own head environment. So that just feels like another piece of that. Andy, yeah?
I'm glad you're saying that the brain is very efficient, because after a long day of thinking, I'm exhausted. It seems to require lots more energy than I'm able to produce. I just wanted to throw that in
And Beth, it was 100,000 times more efficient, right? That's what you're saying, Funnelsburg? Yeah. So can you imagine a data center just running on these uses 100,000 times less power than it currently does? That's amazing.
And one of the things that I think this brings up that is challenging, right, is at least in America, we have a lot of disagreement over what is alive and what isn't, what is independent life and what isn't. But we also have a lot of disagreement about how much something costs. And this seems to be like both of those things coming into a spot of tension around the subject of AI. So like that just seems like there's that's a spicy mix all in there. Karl, what's your did you bring it?
Yes, I do. And one I'll save the more, I guess, like on point topic. I think the one that I really had a lot of fun with was in Wyoming. There is a person running for mayor who promised to let AI run the government. So Victor Miller and his ChatGPT bot Vic plans to lead in hybrid format. So and most likely won't get elected. I don't know, but it's in this article, he has vowed to helm the city's business with AI bot if he wins. Now, we're all thinking, hey, that's hilarious and all that fun stuff. I'm like, well, you know what? Sometimes I'm thinking, just based on some of the stuff that you hear, maybe an AI wouldn't be running the government, right? Just something like you. Maybe it's just more efficient. So I'll share the article on screen here.
Okay.
I thought it was amazing. So, yeah. So I'm open.
I think it's a fine thing to advertise that you are going to add every resource possible to help you make decisions. And, you know, it's a little far-fetched to say, oh, I'm going to let the AI always override whatever my advice is that I get from other humans and so on. That may be a bridge too far. But I love the idea that somebody's acknowledging that AI has a place, a way of contributing to decision-making, because that's what we're experiencing. It's helpful in informing you about every aspect of an issue, and it's also helpful in giving you a framework for decision-making.
Also,
I think... Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that what are we using AI in enterprise for right now, right? It, like you said, Eddie, it's decision-making. Here's this information. Here's how to do this more efficiently, right? There are AI models being built to cover logistics. This is and a lot of running a city, a county, a state. All of that has to do with a lot of logistics. How best to spend our money on what available tools and what contracts to make. AI can help with all of that. So it doesn't seem that far-fetched to me to have like, okay, this is my administrative model who's going to take all of this information here and help me make a decision on something. I agree. Not saying, oh, the AI will make all my decisions. Okay, yes, that's where the comedy comes in. But the fact of using the AI, I'm on the same page, Andy. Completely.
It's very transparent, and I think that's the big thing, right? If you're transparent with and saying, hey, look, I'm running, and this person makes a good point. We're like, they have a treasure, like governments of all places would have tons and tons and tons and tons of data, right? So, and you know, I was creating this video on how AI could help executives make decisions because of predictive analytics, risk management, and all that kind of stuff. It's not it's literally the same thing with any municipal government where you take the recommendation from administration, you take recommendation why not take recommendation from an AI that processes the data faster than any human can? And at the end of the day, you still have to make the decision, but at least you have additional points and maybe perspectives that humans didn't maybe overlooked. Or, if you train it to be like, hey, look for because how many times have we seen politicians get in trouble? Maybe not through their fault of their own. They miss something or something happens and there's something. But imagine you have AI like combing through, looking at all the potential possibilities, all the risks, and it's transparent. And if you want to talk about citizen empowerment, well, how about enabling that AI to not be trained by the public, but more like, here's the training data and here's what the instructions we're giving this AI to do, right? And here it is. So people know, oh, okay. And say, hey, this is AI and you're not going to get 100% accuracy, but it is combing through this data and this is the outputs. So then people can see it and like have that level of trust versus they're just using AI, but I don't know how you're using AI.
It does add to the potential democratization of involvement from the population by using AI to do sentiment analysis on incoming calls that are just being recorded by the AI. Like you allow your constituents to talk to the AI, and the AI can summarize that really effectively in a way that your staff may not be able to. I think that there's a lot to be done in the world of government to use AI to add to the power of human voices that are behind it.
I want to, I think Rainy Equinox in our chat here said that like AI in the court system would be the first step before politics. I think there's a lot of truth to that, because think of and we talk a lot about this, like what are all the repetitive data-driven processes? Well, the most repetitive process in the world, wouldn't you think, would be the legal system, where they literally do the same thing. You see what all the same things over and over and over. Then again, what could AI do to help the court system? Even maybe not automate, but just providing advice. Imagine if, now this is probably controversial, imagine if judges, and we know lawyers are already doing it. Some of my clients are lawyers who are already using AI as part of their trial prep. So what if, now obviously the judge has to make the final decision, the final decision, but hey, AI is there, has been able to listen to both arguments and provides feedback, and the judge would be like, interesting, can provide that additional input. And eventually it's like, well, it's not the AI making the decision. It's just, here's a list of recommendations. Here's things you may have not have missed. And do we want the AI to be like, what is the recommended verdict? Maybe not. It's just, instead of a recommended verdict, it would be, here's the case facts, here's case law, this is what it is. Based on this, here's a couple things to think about. And maybe that would be the output. Here's things to think about, not the actual verdict, if people aren't comfortable with that.
Absolutely. And think about what we have looked at in terms of client new hire onboarding or client onboarding or those kinds of things. Right now you get court mandated, right? Like public service or you get court mandated education for certain things. What if that was research based, right? Like, hey, how long do you need to have a conversation with this very knowledgeable chatbot about the context in which your actions occurred? And, right, it's a sympathetic chatbot. Like, why? What happened? Right? And it's oh, okay, that's interesting. Let's have a conversation about that. What were some alternatives? I mean, I think this is a pilot study that could help with, how often do these situations occur?
Just like how we talked about how we can record our conversations and then transcribe it and then segment and take that data. I don't see a reason why any lawyer would be like, hey, I'm going to record this conversation. about, a new client, take it into whatever model that you want, and then run through it and provide you additional perspectives that you may not have time to do. And now that just gives you more ability to help your client. I'm definitely not saying, hey, let the AI do the whole thing. But imagine all those lawyers who have, and we're talking not just criminal cases, all types of cases. The amount of time you could save just by doing that, when you actually have to listen to a client, but sometimes you just can't extract it. It's not capable. Humans aren't capable to, let's say, 2 hours stretch. There's no way you can just process every single piece, everything, right? So yeah, you have to transcribe it. And a lot of lawyers, record. But forget that. Like, you have an AI actually there. And imagine what happens when multimodal is available. So now you have, hey, I'm going to put my phone down and I'm going to have this custom GPT trained as me or as our law firm listening to, and then we're going to have conversations with it. That would be fascinating. If any legal professional, I don't know how you do that, but if you have access to advanced voice mode, I would take it into a meeting and see what you can get out of it, because it would be very fascinating how you can use it.
Yeah, I'm hearing teams talk about having AI sit in on meetings, right? And in a way that you could turn and say, like, hey, are there things that you see in what we're saying, right? What would you say as another voice in the context, but also routinely taking the transcript and the audio and submitting it and saying, what did we miss? What was present in the conversation that we passed over, that we missed, what are the opportunities that just didn't get bubbled up but are still in that? And that's like shopping your own closet, right? Like that's an enormous value for you.
And this, and not just that. I mean, like the thing is, you can train it on all this data, but also a lot of the legal profession is looking up case law too. It's like, hey, what was done previously? This thing is 100,000 times faster than you looking it up. So, and giving, not just looking it up, but giving context related to the case that you're working on, plus being able to relate to multiple different cases if you trained it correctly, or be very judicious in what you're training it on. I know one of our clients they trained a model, they used RAG and fine tuning for a model based on all their historic cases, and then use that as part of prep. And just the amount of time they saved doing that, I think there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of law firms on that range. So
let's definitely do a show on law, because if you guys recall, at the beginning of 2023, I was working with a startup that was doing a mediation platform for mediators to assist them in adjudication of disputes. So it was a dispute resolution system. And I think there's a lot of power behind that. In fact, in the chat, Wayne Clayton just said, ChatGPT, act as if you are a Supreme Court justice and rule on this case. And that's really, where that's going. AI is quite capable of using all the precedents that are in its knowledge store and making rational decisions that align with judicial approaches. Shall we move on to other news topics, though? I feel like we ought to get back to this, even though this was a really fascinating discussion.
There is one I wanted to just, it's by Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, who had this long conversation in Stanford, and he raised up a lot of different things about AI agents. Definitely worth having a watch. Just find Eric Schmidt, Stanford 2024, and you'll find it. I know Stanford took it down from their site because he wanted to walk back a couple of things that he said in terms of why Google is losing, because the amount of work days and so on. But I think that, to me, the most interesting piece, what he was talking about, was from an AI perspective, the agent perspective, where I still think AI, I think it was Demis Hassabis was saying this, where, it's overvalued now in what it can do, but it's still undervalued. And I do think it's undervalued in terms of what people are missing in preparing for agents and what an agent can do. So Eric Schmidt was talking about how by next year, you will have agents being able to do things for you, which does change a lot of business use cases. And we just talked about the legal profession. Imagine agents impact, like what the impact of an agent there could be, but really any industry. And I just, again, talking to businesses, it's not even like,
yeah. Eric used this idea to say that there is an explosive transformation coming soon. He was really saying agents you'll be able to give agents an instruction, and the agent will then do that chase of the objective recursively. Like the example he used was, okay, I want you to design me an operation on the web like TikTok, and then launch it and see how it works compared to TikTok. And if it doesn't work as well as TikTok, do it again and improve it until you get one that's working as well as TikTok. And he releases that agent on that task. It just operates. It takes 3-4 months maybe of iterations to get there, but it can do anything because it's relentless in its ability to recursively improve itself. That's the power of agents. And he's really saying, we're not ready yet for just how big this is going to be.
But that's also the Paperclip factory and Strawberry Fields Forever, right? Is the idea of setting the Paperclip factory, if people don't know, is you give an AI the goal of making the most paperclips, and at some point it uses all of the materials, and now it needs to use the iron that is in human bodies, right? Like it's that sort of extreme. Yeah. And the Strawberry
there are guardrails.
Yeah. And the Strawberry Fields Forever is kind of a similar idea, except that it was Elon's fear a while ago, was that if you gave the AI the goal of like having the best strawberry yield you could, again, like now everything is strawberries.
Strawberry fields, yeah.
Yeah.
Could be worse.
Andy, you were talking about you mentioned OpenAI's news. Do you want to go into that?
Well, just to give passing mention, every newsletter out there is talking about OpenAI's making GPT-4o and GPT-4o Mini available for fine-tuning. So that means that you can get an instance of that model, and as an enterprise, you can tune it with your own instruction sets and your own examples and your own knowledge base. And this goes beyond RAG, right? This is not just having a data store that can be brought in at the time of inference. It's about really training the model to be much more knowledgeable about whatever tasks you want that model to perform, that particular instance of the model, and with complete adherence to your corporate data and your corporate principles. So that's a new platform availability from OpenAI, fine-tuning GPT-4o, their most advanced model, and or GPT-4o Mini, which is nearly as good as GPT-4o, but much, much smaller and much less expensive.
And a free 1 million tokens until September.
Wow. Okay, go for that.
Yeah,
I have some other news here that I want to touch on. One, I'll pass this over quickly, but we've been talking about self-taught reasoning as one of the key capabilities of models that allow them to then advance themselves to, again, recursively make improvements to their own abilities. That's being sort of self-fine-tuning, if you will, on various skills and things. So Meta which is one of the real, centers of excellence for research and advancement of AI, has just released research about what they're calling the self-taught evaluator method of training and tuning LLMs that basically uses automated loops for self-improvement, eliminating the need for human reinforcement feedback. So the humans no longer have to tell the model, okay, that output was better than this output, so use that output as an example. That new self-taught evaluator platform is capable of generating and refining examples through a LLM as judge, like a pair of LLMs, one generating examples and the other one judging those examples, and doing that iteratively until they get a much better tuning set with examples for whatever purpose you want. So a major advance coming in self-taught LLMs. And now I want to jump over to robots. We did a show last week that you should go back and see, which is all about robots and where that's going. And it's a very interesting, or was it this week? Was it yesterday? Oh my gosh, this is the world of AI. Okay, go to see our robot show. We'll post what show number it is.
It was Monday.
Was it? It was this week. Okay, great. Yeah, weeks ago, or this week, one of those two. So Unitree Robotics, I didn't even mention it when I mentioned a few of the robot companies out there, Figure and Tesla's Optimus robot, some of the examples. These are very expensive human bipedal robots. Well, Unitree Robotics has optimized its $16,000, sort of less than a car, G1 humanoid robot for mass production, showing improved agility such as leaping and climbing stairs. So this company, Unitree Robotics, is out there moving at the low price and toward that thing that we discussed, which is what does the robot look like in your home that can actually operate with it? Now, we don't know much about the cognitive capabilities of the Unitree robot, but imagine the physical embodiment is one thing separate from the AI that's driving it. So, maybe Unitree isn't focusing so much on the AI component as it is on generating, the physical embodiment component of robotics that way.
Well,
Jyunmi,
speaking towards the AI component of the robotics, some science news. So Washington State University just came up with a new algorithm that will make robots safer by making them more aware of human inattentiveness. So a lot of the accidents that happen around robots or in those mechanical spaces is the chaoticness of humanity, right? Humans don't follow the clear plan. They don't follow the rules. They take shortcuts. They make changes. We're just a bundle of wild energy here. But with this new algorithm, the folks at Washington State University was able to improve safety to about a maximum of 80%. Improve safety 80% than what it exists now, and efficiency of the robot or the work by 38% compared to existing methods. That's a huge jump. So this planning tool that they've come up with will help mitigate a lot of some of the stuff that we did talk about on that episode about the worry of what if the robot falls on my cat, and those kinds of things. So maybe version 2 of that robot, Andy, will have these new updates.
It flips the role of supervisor. We think we have to supervise the robot, but no, the robot's supervising us and letting us know when we're slipping into some dysfunctional role. Another robotics company, Renovate Robotics, has just provided Rufus, their rooftop robot that automates roofing. So right now it can install shingles, but future versions will be able to rip them out and also perform solar installs. So that eliminates the human risk of roof falls, which happens to a lot of roofers, right? They fall off the roof, just tumble somehow and it's a serious injury.
Okay, now we just need the companion robot that sits in your attic and catches all the crap that comes into your attic when they're pounding on your roof, right? Like just runs around. And so now that is $1 million idea, 100%.
Go for that.
Yeah, solar installs in the future versions, that's amazing. Yeah, like now there's no excuse because it's just part of the roof building or the roof updating process is, okay, now we can just put in the solar cell.
And there are solar shingles.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. Okay, I got one last story and I'll be done. MIT have designed tiny batteries for powering cell-size robots. Batteries smaller than a grain of sand. And so this is to help like nanobots or nanotech, those kinds of things for either drug delivery, repair, just autonomous tiny robots being put in places where you need a really tiny robot, like, the body and things like that.
If that battery is based on something that can be remotely recharged, you know how that we have, you don't have to plug it in. You just put the battery near your phone, put it on a pad that's generating an electromagnetic field that recharges the battery. Imagine if they're rechargeable. I don't know. I didn't see that, Nude. So that's an interesting question.
Yeah, just have put a sheet on your bed or whatever when you lay down. Recharge
overnight. All your nanobots recharge themselves.
Yeah,
okay, good.
Well, the battery's based off of zinc air. So essentially, what happens is it takes in oxygen, oxidizes the zinc, and through that process creates a charge. But yeah, so essentially, nano batteries for nanobots.
Cool.
That's what I got.
I've got another one here, and that's on the theme of where advances in AI applications are happening is in the use of LLMs and or other machine learning technologies to focus on a specific vertical and a specific set of tasks. And this is a great example of that. There's a company that just got a 20 million Series A. So remember that when you get a Series A, you've already gotten a seed round. You've already done a proof of concept. You've got product. You've established a product market fit. Now you're getting the Series A to scale that up and deliver it to the marketplace. And this is a $20 million Series A from Redpoint, a very major VC in Silicon Valley. And it's called Trunk Tools. That platform is for the construction trade. So imagine general contractors now. Their platform organizes the immense amount of documentation for construction projects, various types of files. Users then query the data through a chatbot interface or build automations on top of it. And it enables construction teams to link all of the project plan, like the Gantt charts of this massive construction project, all those scheduled activities with the relevant documentation. So as you move from one task to the next and you're shifting from one trade to another, the AI is there to support that transition and inform everybody in the process. So that's a really great example, I think, of that trend.
Yeah, Karl, you got another?
So I got one last one, and I thought this was really, really cool in terms of education AI. This is an 8-year-old essentially building her own, I guess, Harry Potter chatbot using Cursor and AI. And I thought this is an example of, instead of the fear, instead of the blocking ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff, this is literally, you can use AI to teach people how to essentially build any application they want. So this person from X said, what can an 8-year-old build in 45 minutes with assistant of AI? And there's about 10 minutes of his 8-year-old daughter just in natural language too. No coding, no Python, no JavaScript, just, I didn't like Harry Potter on the left. I want it in the middle of the page. Done. I want to do this. Done. Can I do this? This is how easy it is, or will be how easy it is to build any application without having to have full devs with you, which
Yep. Absolutely.
Hey, I have one last little quickie. So Google, developed the self-driving automotive solution called Waymo. And I think Waymo may have spun out, or maybe it's a part of Alphabet. I'm not sure. But Waymo announced that they are now doing 100,000 rides a month. No driver in the Waymo vehicle. These are fully automated. And it's mostly in San Francisco. And at the same time, they're announcing their next gen vehicle, which is larger, like a larger cab for, more people can ride in it. And it's their Gen 5 vehicle. And I want to draw your attention to, I don't have a link to it, but there was a great video on one of the social media feeds that I glance at periodically. And it was the Waymo vehicles when they have a storage space, if you will, or a parking area for them. And they're all going into that parking area and they're avoiding each other. And they're parking basically overnight. And some of them are leaving because somebody's calling a Waymo at 2 a.m. or whatever. But there's this time-lapse video of the Waymo vehicles where they gather and talk to each other when they're not working. Okay? Literally talking to each other to, try to avoid hitting each other. It is fascinating that those things are doing that, and just waiting for you to call the Waymo and go be picked up and carried to your next destination.
Beth, I smell another cartoon for the newsletter.
Yeah, well, I'd like, you have to be a certain age maybe to remember the sitcom Taxi, but this would be hilarious, right? Because the whole thing in the sitcom is that it all takes place where they're all talking to each other. You never see them actually driving taxis around.
Hey, if you got access to that showrunner alpha, that sounds like a good AI TV show to go make. Just make Waymo version of Taxi. It's a reboot.
All right, so I have one more random story. Really? This is interesting, but was this a thing? And it is BZIGO. So Bzigo launched Iris, an AI-powered mosquito detector that tracks and marks mosquitoes with a laser pointer. And then you can go with your little electronic, tennis racket, right? And go near it. Now, it's on special right now. You can have it for the very, very low price of $339, down from its regular price of $400. And it's an eye safe laser, right? So you don't need to worry about burning out your ability to see. And it works in the dark because it has infrared. So
I'm getting one of those. I'm getting one of those.
Well, there we go. So we know that this was really made for Andy. Absolutely. And Zigo, we would be happy to test it out. Just reach out to us. Right. Andy, we'll put some video together.
Experience. My wife,
Andy, we want to see it.
My wife, Lori, complains bitterly if there's a mosquito buzzing in the bedroom before we go to bed because it's going to bite her for sure. And so I'm getting one. I don't care how much it costs. It's causing sleep deprivation. So,
all right. Yay. Okay. So thanks for hanging with us for our news roundup. We will be back tomorrow and Friday. Tomorrow's show is about the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 balance, and how that's applying to AI. And it was inspired by an Ethan Malik article, and we will post those on the LinkedIn show and on the show description of the live if we get to do that, so that you guys can prep if you want. On Friday is our 2-week roundup, so we're gonna talk about all the things that we talked about in the last 2 weeks and see what's happened since we did the things. We have a newsletter. You can find us at thedailyAIshow.com. Tell your friends, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Yay! Have a good Wednesday, everybody.
Oh,